This is what we're going to study on our bell on our own. Matthew 14, starting in verse 22, and we're going to read all the way down through verse 36. And the way we're going to do this is, I'll just let me show you a couple things. Look at verse 25. It says, "Now in the fourth watch of the night." Now Jesus sent them off to the boat. If you read from 22 on, he sent them off after he fed the 5,000, and just as it's getting to be late afternoon, he sends the people away. So it's maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Then look what it says in verse 25, in the fourth watch. The calendar, the way that they reckon time is, the first watch was from 6 at night. We're talking about soldiers. The first watch was 6 to 9. The second watch was 9 to midnight. You know, shifts at factories? Well, the soldiers had watches, and they used the terminology. So 6 to 9, watch 1. 9 to 12, watch 2. 12 to 3, watch 3. What time is this in verse 25? Yeah, from after 3 until 6 a.m. What time did Jesus send them off to the boat? Probably before 6. They've been in the boat 9 hours in a storm. So that's the first detail as you're reading. Notice it. At the end of verse 26, it says they cried out for fear. That's the same word we saw in the Capernaum synagogue yesterday, where that demonized guy screamed. It's the same word, just yelling out of your mind. Continuing to read, it says, verse 30, the wind was boisterous. That's the Greek word basanadzo. It means boiling, just not just the waves going like this. It means that the waves were crashing and they were hitting up. It's kind of like where two currents or two oceans, like out off the Tasmanian Sea hits the South China Sea off of New Zealand, and it's like a wall of crashing. This sea is coming this way, and when they hit, they go straight up. It's one of the most remarkable spots because the different oceans compete against each other. That's what the water was like. And immediately, Jesus in verse 31 stretched out his hand, and look at verse 32, the wind ceases, and look at verse 33. They just worship him. What did Jesus do for them as they were going through the storms of life? They were out there almost dying out in the storm. What did Jesus do? The first thing he does, he watches them and prays. And he watches them and prays for 9 hours. Did you know when you're in the hospital, when I'm in the hospital, when you're on the roadside in the car accident, when your children are in desperate condition and they can't breathe and have asthma and they're dying and you're in the emergency room, Jesus is right there, but he doesn't always stop the storm. See, that's what I want you to see in here. Just that Jesus doesn't rush in and stop the storm for them. Did you know that's what we pray for all the time? We say, Lord, take away the sickness, take away the disaster. Jesus made them go through the storm for 6+ hours. They were uncomfortable, they were scared, they were screaming, they thought they were going to die. And Jesus never had, when you get up there and read it, look down, he never had them out of sight. He could see them paddling. He was watching from up here, them. And he allowed them to go through the storm. If Jesus doesn't stop your storm right away, it doesn't mean he's not in command of the situation. It means there's more he wants us to learn of trusting him. And that's a lesson tied with Jesus up here praying that helps us understand what he's doing for us right now. Do you know what Jesus is doing right now? Hebrews 7:24 and 25 says, he's ever living to be praying for us. The picture I have of Christ in my mind is this mountain looking down on the lake, and our life on earth is like the lake, and this mountain is like Jesus in heaven. And Jesus knows right where we are all the time, and he's watching us out there, and he's interceding for us. And do you know what it says he does? He came across the storm to them.